Didn't see you there. She is professional and lazy on the bottom. Star Wars pajama pants. Hello, my sweeties, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Celise, and thank you for joining my spooky little family. In today's video, we have a very, very special guest that I am so happy to be speaking with, and that is writer and director of Fried Berry, Mr. Ryan KRUGER. We are going to be talking about everything regarding Fried Berry, some upcoming projects, and more. So without further ado, let's get into the video. How are you doing?
I'm good.
So before we jump into Fried Berry and all its greatness, I kind of want to like pick your brain and figure out what got you into filmmaking. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually started out as an actor first.
Oh, wow.
And I still do a lot of acting work now.
Love
so
that.
I started out as an actor and then eventually, branched out to directing. But yeah, back in the day, have you seen that movie Super 8?
Yes.
So my childhood was very much like that, without the aliens. But my dad bought me like a video camera. So like during the summer or like weekends, I would always like be shooting, all these like little short films with my friends. So, and even though I wanted to be an actor back then, I was still directed in a sense of, this is what I want to do. And we were like shooting all this stuff. And I must have made like about 300 of these short films with this camera back in the day. And they were all shit. They were all like, they were all terrible. And they were all like, either like horror or action, and we all had like American accents. I don't know why, but we just did.
Wait, so you always wanted to do horror then?
Well, I love all film. That's the thing. I love all genres. I mean, I always say there's like a time and a place. It's like music. There's a time and place for everything. And yeah, and then as out of all those like short films, there was always like every now and then there was like one like little cool thing in like one short film, and then there was another cool thing in another short film, and then it would got to a point where it was like, well, why don't we get all these ideas and we put them all together and we make like another a film, but then better. And then it just grew more and more, and I started doing more acting work, and I started getting into directing music videos. So I ended up I've shot like about 100 music videos,
Wow.
Some in the UK, a lot in South Africa, and yeah, and it just started growing from there. And then obviously it got to a point, like being an artist, your mom and dad's always like, in case it doesn't, work out, you should have like a backup, which means to them is like, oh, be like a lawyer or a doctor. And then I was like, all right, I'll do directing. And they were like, ugh. And they were like, and then from there, all my directing work got better because I had like really good crews and amazing people around me. And then I started working more as an actor. So the past 13 years, all I've done is just acting and directing and nothing else, which is amazing. And I'm still very grateful that that's all I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. So I know that Fried Berry is based on a short film. So I'm kind of curious what inspired the short.
Yeah, for me, like where I was at the time, where I was shooting like a lot of music videos and some short films here and there and doing some commercials. And obviously I've always wanted to go into features, but then, I decided I wanted to make a collection of experimental films, and Fried Berry, the short experimental, was the first one. And the reason why I wanted to make these was because like when I do a music video, I've still got like a record label to please, and it has to go on TV, and it has to fit that song. And they would always let me do what I want to do, which is amazing. But at the same time, I'm still in a box because of the music and because of this, and it has to go on TV. So I wanted to start these experimental films to do me and to do exactly what I want to shoot. And I don't have to worry about managers and labels and a song or whatever. So it was really just me going, right, I'm going to do exactly what I want. And I'm just going to do all this like cool arty stuff that I want to make. And it just happened to be that Fried Berry was the first one. And there was never ever a plan to make like a feature out of it or anything. And when I made the short, you know, we took it to like a lot of film festivals, and it did really well. Some really good festivals and some not so good festivals, but it was really just to like get it out there. And it was probably one of the first pieces of work where I was like, that's me. Like, that's 100% my style. Like, I've got like my movie style, and then I have the darker, edgier stuff. And it was just like, but this is definitely like more me. And it just did really well. And then during that time of making the experimentals and stuff, it was funny enough, at that time I went through like a really hard time. And it was, I went through a breakup. My cat had cancer.
Oh my God.
I had something wrong with my kidney. I had an operation. I got sepsis. I nearly died. I went through depression, and at the bottom of the hole, I was just like, you know, what is the number one thing that I've always wanted to do? And it was to make a feature. So the producer that I only just met like 2 months before, and we did like one project together. I rang him up and I was like, I've got an idea for a movie. And, you know, probably a few days before I made this conversation with him, I had like a 50% scene brief breakdown of the movie. So when I rang him, I was like, I want to make a movie and I want to make it next month. And he was like, well, have you got a script? And I'm like, no, but I'm going to write it as we go, and I'm going to develop it because, you know, it's the way, like, my lead actor's not an actor. So I need to do this movie in a certain way, and obviously budget constraints and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, well, why do you want to make it next month? And I was like, because if we don't make it next month, it's never going to happen. You know, but he didn't know like where I was in my head at the time. So it was like, cool, you're either in or you're out. And he was like, cool, I'm in. And then literally a month later, we started shooting Fry Barry. And that's it. Like the turnaround was like really quick, but it took me a year and a half to shoot, but we only shot 28 days.
Wow. I did actually read online that Gary Green is not an actor and he's a stunt man. So how did you guys meet? And was this like your first thing you worked on together?
No, not at all. I mean, I've known Gary now for about 11 years. So Gary's background, you know, was doing extra work, and he did some stunt work. And, you know, he's always, you know, in the background doing extras. But I've always, like, I love characters. So, you know, you get some people like shooting all these pictures of these like hot girls. I'm just like, this guy looks amazing, you know? Or I'm like, you know, I see an old guy with a beard. I'm like, oh, like he's got so much character. Like, I just love characters. And me and Gary, we met on a set. It was like a student movie, and we started chatting. And then over the years, I put Gary in like music videos as like featured parts. And over the years, it just got like a little bit bigger. And then we shot the short. And then after the short, and when I wanted to think of an idea before I chose to do Fry Barry the feature, I had all these other scripts. So when I had that idea in my head where I'm like, I need to make a movie, which script do I choose? And I didn't know. And I think as a director, for a first time feature film director, it's so important which film that you choose first. And I was like, shit, I don't know which one to choose. Is this the right one? Is this the right one? I don't know. And then when I got the idea in my head and how it would work with Gary, so obviously it had to be a certain design for it to work with Gary. So when I got that idea, I was like, that's it. Like, you know, there's not a lot of dialogue and this and this and this, and it's all based on like face and the people, him meeting people and people reacting to meeting him for the first time. And as soon as I got that idea, I just knew like this is the one to do. Like, it's a film that you'll watch and you definitely will not forget. And I haven't seen it, so that's what attracts me to, you know, to make the movie.
I love that. Yeah, he is amazing. His body language is amazing. I talked about this in my review.
I think this is the thing with Gary was, this film would not work with anybody else.
Oh, completely. I agree.
So when I work with a certain person who's a non-actor, and I love working with non-actors, I know the ability of what I can get them to do. You know what I mean? So I know, like, I'm good at like reading people in that sense. where it has to be this or like nothing, or it's not going to work. So it was just like I knew what I could ask from him, and I knew I'd get exactly what I want. What was interesting was that, you know, there was a lot of improv in the movie with a lot of the other actors. Everything we shot was planned right down to the T, and and all the main dialogue that I wrote. So it was the only improv in the movie was little bits like if I got an idea and said, okay, let's try this, or maybe let's, maybe say this line and maybe say that, and just to, change it up. And I always think that the great thing about filmmaking, and especially if it's independent stuff, is that, with big stuff, it's like it's set in stone. And I think it's good to be in the moment and have that organic feel where you go, well, what could happen now? Maybe we should try this instead. The interesting thing was his character is like this kid, and he's like this sponge. He's walking around and he's like, seeing the thing with the baby, or he's seen somebody eat something, and he's like this kid. He's just like learning as he goes. And then when it came to directing, Gary was the only one that I didn't want to improvise. So he didn't see a script. I only told him what we were doing 20 to 40 minutes before we started filming, because I didn't want him to have any false pretenses of what we were going to do. So it's like, you're going to do exactly this and you're going to do exactly that. And so I didn't want him to, preempt anything, because then it wouldn't work. So it was, everything with him was in the moment of directing him and getting exactly what I wanted. And when it came to the editing, I was editing in my head, but Gary did an amazing job. Nobody else could have done it better than him. And we had, I think anybody that watches this film, I think can see that, we had like a good time making this movie.
Yes.
It was fun.
I said that in my video as well. I was like, everybody looked like they were having so much fun. Your extras, everybody understood the assignment.
Yeah, no, we did. We laughed hard. There was so many funny things that happened on set. It was great.
I love that. That's such a good way to be on a set, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that's my problem. Like, as soon as there's like, there's like bigger, TV series or films, and as an actor working on those sets, everybody's like so serious.
Oh,
and everybody will throw anybody under the bus at any moment.
Yes.
And when I made Fried Barry or anything that I make, we are still serious, and it is a job, but we are having fun because this is what we love to do. So I've always got time for like a little joke or this or that. But at the same time, it's, you're bringing all these people together, and I love everybody that works on the set, no matter what job that you do. It all comes together to make what we're making. And I think it's important to have fun.
Did you have any specific influences when shooting Fried Barry? Like, were you inspired by any specific films?
I mean, yeah. Well, like for me, I'm a big fan of like 80s cinema. So 80s cinema for me is like the fucking best. Like, I love, whether it's, looking at the old, like Terminator 1 or Aliens, or looking at The Fly, or looking at, David Cronenberg films or John Carpenter films, and or David Lynch or whoever. There's just something about that time and that feel. And I think a majority of the movies that get made now, it's all CGI, everything's like fucking CGI. And in the 80s, it used to be like 80% in camera, 20% visual effects, and now it's like completely the other way around.
Yeah.
It's completely the other way around, which is insane. So I think we've lost that, that thing in film where it's that realism, or it's that creepiness if it's animatronics or makeup and stuff like that. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, there is good visual effects, but there's a lot of visual effects in a lot of big movies that doesn't look real. And then I always say, if it doesn't look real, then what is it? And why doesn't it look real? Because we can do it, but then it's also budget. But there's a lot of big movies out there that sometimes I'm shocked to see, why isn't the visual effects better?
Yeah, it just has so much character. I personally prefer practical effects myself. Okay, so earlier we were speaking about Gary. There is a scene in Fried Barry when Barry is changing the channels with his eyes. And I noticed on the TV a little snippet of your upcoming short, Meow 2. Are we gonna be expecting some sort of crossover or like shared universe?
Well, this is the thing. You see, the funny thing was, so hashtag Meow 2 only just started doing a festival run, and then some people saw it in Fried Barry, but yeah, I actually shot Meow 2 like long before Fried Barry, but then it was in post for a long time because Fried Barry ended up becoming more of a thing that I needed to edit before the short. But yeah, I think with a lot of my projects that I've got coming up, and some things I can't speak about, but there's a lot of stuff that certain characters are in, the other films that I want to make, and I really think that it's cool to have that like universe of all those people. I mean, even in Fried Barry, there was a short film that I made years ago called The Time Travelers, and it was the guy that was in Fried Barry. It was Ronald, the patient, in the mental.
Oh my God, I loved him.
Yeah,
he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, he was awesome. Such a great actor. So he's playing the same character in that short film, and then the guy that picks him up from the mental institute, that character is also the same character from the short film. And if you look at the short film, in the mental institute is also Gary. So he's
amazing.
Just there. So it's all in that like universe where I'm trying to connect all the people.
So I feel like this is really fitting because if you've probably only seen my video on Fried Barry, but my channel is mostly me talking about horror movies and recommending different horror movies. So I'm curious, do you think you'll be making more horror sci-fi films in the future, or are you gonna like branch off into something completely different?
Yeah, I think, well, I've got some cool horror sci-fi stuff that's meant to be happening next year. But I also, at the same time, I also want to branch off and do all types of things. And that's what I like. I mean, even when it comes down to movies, like I love horror and I love sci-fi and I love crazy, weird genre movies. And it's, like I said, there's a time and place for everything. So depending on what mood you're in. But yeah, I think as a director, I don't want to be known for just certain types of films. There's a lot of people that want me to do Fried Barry too. And there's 2 other films that's coming up that's very much in the horror sci-fi world, which is one of them's just as crazy as Fried Barry. So we have to see.
I love that. Is Meow 2 like horror sci-fi or?
Yeah, well, it's that mixture where it's like that's the thing. If you look at Fried Barry, it's you see, I look at it and I go, it's not a straight horror film. It has horror elements.
Yes.
And it has sci-fi elements, but there's also a shitload of comedy. So Meow 2 is a very much, I guess it has like a horror element in it, but it's also, it's just like a weird experimental film in a weird world. I would say it's more like, you see, a bit like David Lynchy or something like that.
That's amazing. I love that.
It's just, I'll send you the link and you can check it out.
Yes, I would love to. That was my next question. When can I see it?
Yeah, well, it's busy doing the festival run now. So it's busy going to different festivals. I can't tell you which festivals it's going to now because I really can't remember. But it's up and about right now, going to different festivals. Then I also have a new experimental also coming out probably from January called Alien Dick. So it's literally about a security guard that works the night shift at a secret government hangar. And he's pulling the night shift there, and then the alarm goes off and he goes and checks what's going on, and then basically he meets this alien dick and it all goes from there, and it just
sounds amazing.
So
I love
that's why sometimes it's like, that's why I say like I love different styles, and this is obviously more like the Fried Barry sort of like fucked up world.
Yes.
But at the same time it's just like I'll get an idea and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that before. I'll show my dad something, and my dad would go, Ryan, you got to stop making movies about dicks and shit like that. He goes, yeah, but Ryan, you're going to be known for like being like the dick guy or whatever.
So speaking of your dad, now I need to know, what did your dad think of Fried Berry?
He actually liked it. And I mean, your mum and dad's always going to fucking say that they like it.
That's so
like, you
true.
can show them a piece of shit. And your mum and dad's going to go, it's beautiful. And he actually wanted to watch it again because he said there's so many things
I love it
that he saw and he wanted to watch it again. So yeah, he actually enjoyed it. My mum enjoyed it. She probably thinks I'm like fucked up now after watching it.
Was there anything that he was like hesitant to do? Because I know he does a lot of weird shit in the movie.
Yeah, well, it was funny because like I sat right here in my living room, and before we started shooting, before we even got into like pre-prod, and I said, right, Gary, I'm going to do this film. I want you to be the lead and this and this and this, and dude, it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be this and this and this. And I said to him, but there's one thing that we have to do, and you've got to do it, man. Otherwise, it's like not going to work, or this or this. And then before I even said it, he was like, I will not go naked. I will not go naked. And I'm like, Gary, like, you got it, man. Like, that's a part of the character, and it's a part of the thing. I said, we're not going to see your dick and this and this and this. It's just, it's a part of the thing. And like, we'll shoot it a certain way. And he was like, okay, all right, I'm just going to have to get over it, and I'm just going to have to do it. And he did. I mean, even when we got to like shooting the abduction scene in the studio, and he was like on all fours, I was looking at the monitor, and Gary was just like on his all fours, like naked. And I just started laughing. And my DP said to me, dude, what are you laughing at? I'm like, dude, look at what we're making him do. Like, you know what I mean?
How could you not?
He's gunning it all the way. And it was so, because I think Gary also knew this is his chance. This is his opportunity to do, what he's always been waiting for. You know what I mean? And that's why it's a total underdog story, this whole thing with Gary coming from an extra background and then being a lead in the movie and doing so well, and it's awesome. And that's why I just want Gary to do well.
So other than Meow 2 and Alien Dick, are there any other films you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, well, that's the thing now. So there's two films that's meant to be happening next year, both horror, sci-fi, but I really can't talk about it. So it's very much a hush hush right now.
I know, I'm over here trying to like get you to talk about it. Yeah.
Gary will also be in both of them, and I think if you like Fried Barry, you'll definitely like the one, and then the other one's a little bit more commercial, but still that horror sci-fi feel to it. Oh, sorry. One thing I can say is
tell me.
The one film is an 80s reboot movie. So it's a film from the 80s, which I can't say what it is, but it's a reboot of a film. So, but that's all I can say.
I'm so excited. And now I'm just going to be thinking about this all day, trying to figure out which film. I also want to know, what was it like to get Fried Berry on Shudder? Yeah,
I mean, it was awesome. I mean, when you see the one thing that's really hard is obviously making a movie. That's like one thing, and actually getting it out there. And I was very lucky to have a great sales agent, and it also did an amazing, festival run all around the world. So that built up like a lot of fans and a lot of people talking about it. And then, Shudder got hold of it, and they loved it. And that's why, they made it like a Shudder original. You see, in South Africa, we don't get Shudder. So I knew about Shudder from, other people, and I've heard about it before, but we don't get it here. So, but yeah, as soon as I knew that they were taking it, and I went on to Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, I just knew straight away that, Shudder is a perfect, great home for Fried Barry.
Yeah, that's amazing. I hope to see more of your films on Shudder. And I know that Fried Berry is now kind of considered a cult classic, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, it's going to make me look stupid now saying, I wanted to make like a cult you know, classic sort of film, but because of my love for like the 80s films and stuff like that, but I really wanted to make that cult style movie that when I was a kid, I would have loved to watch. And to do that and to make a film like that, it's such a hard thing to get like the tone and the feel right.
Yes, I noticed on Shudder yesterday, I hit the cult section and it's there. And I'm like, this is amazing.
Oh, well, there you go. I didn't even know that. Well, there you go.
There's another thing that I noticed, because I actually watched Fried Berry again so I could be more prepared to talk to you. But I noticed your little cameo. Was that something that you did on the spot, or did you have that in mind already?
So yeah, it was one of those things where before we shot that scene, I got to a point where, because I was like, oh, I don't know if I should put myself in the movie or not. Then my producer, my DP, was like, oh, dude, you got it. You got it. You're a fucking actor as well. Like, you got to do at least one scene.
Of course.
It was cool doing it. But obviously, when you're directing and then acting, you know, obviously it's there's a lot going on at the same time, and I'm picturing and everything between editing and directing and this and that and all the other actors, and it's a lot of it's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I can definitely tell while watching it that it was such like a passion project. Is there anything else you'd like to say in regards to Fried Berry or any other films you're working on?
You know, if you haven't seen Fried Berry yet, go on YouTube, check out the trailer, or go to Shudder, check it out. And then watch it. Let me know what you think. If you sit down with an open mind and just go into it and, just enjoy it, don't take it, the film doesn't take itself too seriously at all. And and just enjoy it. And I always say, watch it with friends. It's always, I think it's one of those great movies to watch with a group of people or in a cinema.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you so much for the chat.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Cheers.
All right, you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. A huge thank you to Ryan again for sitting down and talking with me about Fried Berry and the rest of his upcoming films, which I am so excited to see. Another major shout out to my patron As Above So Tello for recommending that I watch and review Fried Berry. It is all thanks to you that now this film has become one of my favorite watches of this year. If you would like to become a patron, all my links will be in the description box down below. I have a lot of cool perks, like recommending films for me to review, some movie watch parties, Netflix watch parties, all kinds of watch parties. I have a lot of cosplay content as well as some behind the scenes for Table Screams, so you guys should definitely check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps me a lot, and be sure to click that little notification bell to be up to date every single time I upload. And let me know in the comments, have you seen Fried Berry? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy this discussion that Ryan and I had on Fried Berry? And also let me know if you would like more videos like this in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!